good to see so many people back in person, and thank you all for being here, and thank you to CHBC and to Sarah for bringing us together. In my years as the former deputy mayor and at HPD, I came to realize that the very hardest job in government, in housing, is community engagement, right? You have to communicate very complex, detailed, technical information that's very fluid, and you have to do that to an audience that's very varied in terms of their age, their education, their expertise, their cultural background, and the interest that they have in the issue. You also have to be an incredible listener, again, with people with very, very different backgrounds and different interests in the issue, but also people who may not actually be communicating what they want to communicate, where fear and suspicion is ever present, and where sometimes what is said isn't what's true, and sometimes what is said isn't what's meant. It requires enormous patience and grace and compassion. And the two incredible public servants that CHPC has chosen to honor with the amazing Ebo Balton Award exemplify the very best of those traits. But that isn't all. They also have shown over and over again that they are constantly and thoughtfully trying to improve that public engagement process, always looking for ways to communicate more simply, to listen more sympathetically, and to work with stakeholders more productively. Let me start with Sylvia Lee. Sylvia has served as at the Manhattan Office of City Planning for over 8 years, first as a community liaison and now as senior planner and team leader. She was the lead planning and project supervisor of the Soho NoHo neighborhood plan, the city's first zoning that was specifically and very carefully targeted to open up a high opportunity neighborhood to affordable housing. She managed to bring that rezoning to fruition despite a pandemic that made community engagement so difficult and required so much flexibility, but also against a clock. Usually you want to proceed at the speed of trust. We didn't have that luxury. She had to get us through the Euler clock and the end of administration. Unfortunately for people, I sometimes lurked on Zoom when Sylvia was leading one of the more than 40 community engagement meetings that she did. And it was a bear of a rezoning. It involved the loft law, it involved historic districts, it involved joint live, work, quality, etc. It involved MIH, it involved all of those different things, and she had to bring all that together and communicate what we were trying to achieve, and listen to people about how they responded to those comments. And she managed to wrangle all that complexity and communicate the goals and the details of the rezoning clearly, simply, accurately, and persuasively. And throughout the contentious meetings, she listened with enormous grace and generosity, even when that Zoom chat function allowed anonymous people to say really horrendous things, both to her and about her. She held her ground firmly, but nicely. She never let the heated discussions drag her down into cynicism or despair. Instead, she responded with warmth and kindness and constantly looked for opportunities to improve the rezoning to meet people's concerns. And she was dogged in her determination to find acceptable compromises and to move the rezoning forward. She is the very model of a caring, thoughtful, dedicated, and incredibly intelligent and creative public servant. Simon Kawitzky shares many of those traits. He currently serves as Vice President of Portfolio Planning at NYCHA, where, as you heard earlier from Jessica and from Miguel and Darlene, really helped innovate the community engagement practice, the Chelsea Working Group and the Resident Advisory Group, that allowed those residents to really inform first of all, to agree upon a set of goals and strategies for achieving those goals, to inform the RFP, to participate in the decision making about who would do the redevelopment. And he really led the way on all of that community engagement with lots of help, I have to say, from Jessica and Sarah and CHPC. But that wasn't, and what he's done is to now take that to the PACT process throughout the city and working with resident groups in NYCHA buildings all over the city. And that isn't the first of Simon's many, many innovations. While serving as Assistant Commissioner of Neighborhood Development and Stabilization, as well as Director of Neighborhood Planning, he created a neighborhood planning playbook that was meant to bring clarity and transparency and certainty to the community engagement process. And that resulted in many, many neighborhood plans, including the Brownsville Plan. He also led stakeholder engagement for the city's first assessment of fair housing that resulted in the remarkable Where We Live plan. I sat with Simon on many, many of those meetings, and the thing that always so struck me about Simon is he listened so generously and so thoughtfully, but he listened with an openness, right? When it was brought up, can the residents participate in the selection process in the RFP? Of course, many of us worried about, well, what about the conflict of interest? What about the financial disclosure? What about this? What about that? But Simon always can see the possibility in things. And that kind of attitude from both Sylvia and Simon makes the city so lucky to have people so smart and creative and committed and caring and constructive as these two amazing public servants. They're not only excellent at the craft of community planning and community development, but both are superb managers, bringing together very diverse teams with all kinds of skills and experiences and perspectives. And both are remarkably humble and kind, the kind of teammates who never take the credit for themselves, but are generous in crediting others. And they're persistent. They each consistently nudged all of us to work to seek ever more equitable outcomes and ever more empowering processes. We can all learn from observing their very genuine and deep devotion to listening to the hopes and dreams of our residents about what they want their community to be and about what they want their city to be. Simon and Sylvia are a credit to the memory of Ebo Balton. They are an inspiration for us all, and they are a treasure for the city. We're going to hear a little bit more about them on the video.
Simon is truly one of the most thoughtful, creative, sincere, and humble community planners that I've ever encountered. Always designing really thoughtful and creative processes that centered the voices of the communities and neighborhoods and people that we sought to serve and that he sought to serve as a public servant. One of the things I love most about Simon is how he never centers himself. He's really very humble, but also really thoughtful about kind of evaluating a room, evaluating the politics involved, the dynamics, to advocate for the voices who aren't at the table or who don't have the opportunity to be at the table. I've personally learned so much from him, and I'm just so glad to see him and his work being honored today. I'm sure it makes you uncomfortable, Simon, but I hope you're able to take a moment and just enjoy it.
Congratulations, Simon. The Citizens Housing and Planning Council made a wise and wonderful decision to honor you this year. I remember our early days working together at Jonathan Rose Companies, not only because it was the beginning of your career, but because we started a new area of practice within the firm that focused on planning. You hit the ground running and never stopped. Simon, it's an honor to be both a colleague and a friend of yours. Congratulations.
Simon has proved a successful advocate for doing the right thing, empowering communities in a way that meets larger public purposes. Simon brings a thoughtful, idealistic practicality and a willingness to listen to everything that he does. This makes him exemplary as a public servant, as an urbanist and professional, and I'd add as a father, husband, and person. Plus, golly, Simon's young. This is just the beginning. So we have a lot to look forward to in terms of Simon's contribution. And I'm very excited that he's won this award. Congratulations, Simon.
Huge congratulations, Sylvia. Sylvia fearlessly embraced the challenge of upzoning one of the city's wealthiest, whitest neighborhoods. Driven by an unwavering vision for a diverse live, work, play neighborhood, Sylvia deftly and tirelessly marshaled countless threads and cajoled widely divergent interest groups to bring the zoning not just into the 2020s, but to set the stage for an equitable future in these neighborhoods for generations to come. New Yorkers in generations to come may not have the pleasure of knowing Sylvia, but they'll benefit from a rezoning that reflects Sylvia's expertise and her compassion. Again, congratulations.
Then she really impressed me by her handling of the public process, which was challenging and at times hostile. But Sylvia remained doggedly determined to complete this process. She was the absolute epitome of poise under pressure and the finest kind of public servant that you could ever find. I want to say congratulations and that I feel privileged to have her as a work colleague and a friend. Thank you.
While Sylvia is the first to share credit with others, and she will say the rezoning could not have happened without a team in and outside of city planning, yes, that may be true, but I simply cannot overstate just how critical Sylvia was to the success of the rezoning. We have been so impressed at every turn by Sylvia's sense of mission, her dedication, her engagement with the community and with stakeholders, her talent, and her grace, especially in the face of extraordinary working conditions. She is simply incredible. Thank you to the CHPC for recognizing Sylvia as the star community planner. We know she is. Congratulations, Sylvia. We are so proud and happy for you.
Now let's welcome to the stage these two amazing, dedicated public servants, Sylvia Lee and Simon Kawitzky.
Say you don't know me, I recognize my face. Say you don't care who goes to that kind of place. Knee deep in the hoopla, sinking in your fight.
Thank you. Sarah, Richard, CHPC, everyone. The fact that I'm getting an award for doing my job is a testament of the work that we do at the Department of City Planning, and the fact that the Soho NoHo rezoning was a momentous, important project. Vicki, the decisions you made as deputy mayor with heart, with strategy, created the space for Soho NoHo rezoning and many other important projects to move forward. I, as an urban planner, as a New Yorker, thank you for that. So many people to thank, I'll give it a try. Anita Laramont, thank you for being you and always having faith, more faith in me than I do myself. Marisa Lago, well, she's not here, but I always envy her for her world travels and look up to her forever. Edith Su Chen, thank you for being so much more to me than just a good boss, and I'll forever remember that church basement on West Houston Street that we were at. Eric Bosford, for many things, but most importantly, for having as much patience for JLWQA meetings as I do. Carl Weisbrod, you complimented me for a Soho memo I wrote on December 2nd, 2016, and here I am. Andy Cantu, Josh Simino, Rich Wong, Ahmed Tagani, Michael Sandler, Eddie Almonte, and other city planning and agency colleagues, it is among you that I learned to be a planner and a public servant. Annie White, Dan Moran, Joe Kolkman, Liz Lee, Nabila Malik, Sunny Gao, thanks for being my planning confidant and friends. Lastly, to my family in China, who I haven't seen for a number of years now, 感谢爸爸妈妈的养育之恩. This is for when they see the video, or never. CHPC and all the housing advocates out there, your voices reminded me why I do what I do. Thank you for what you do. Now that the Soho rezoning is done and I'm getting an award, I want to remind and look to the developers in the room to go out there and build some housing. Thank you all very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Vicki, for the really kind introduction. Congratulations to my fellow honorees and to Sylvia, my co-awardee. It's an honor to be presented with the Balton Award. I would like to thank the CHPC board, but also recognize the amazingly talented people, including many in this room today, with whom I have had the pleasure of working and learning. This includes Jonathan Gavaya and Greg Russ, who have been so supportive at NYCHA and allowing us to try new approaches that put our residents first. To the Real Estate Development Department, the Portfolio Planning Team, the Community Development Department, you are some of the smartest and hardest working people that I have met. This award truly reflects the many extraordinary efforts happening right now across NYCHA and within our teams, and I'm so excited about what we can continue to achieve together. On a personal note, I want to thank my wife, Laura. You put your own career on pause to ensure our daughter is the happy, healthy little person she is today, and I'm forever grateful. I'm also thrilled to be joined by my father, sister, and aunt today. Never in my career have I, my short career, as John Shapiro pointed out, have I felt such an urgent call to act as I have during my time at NYCHA. We finally have the chance, through programs like PACT, to make the kinds of investments that our properties sorely need, and to also ensure they remain places of deeply affordable housing for future generations. But we must not lose sight of the people, NYCHA residents, for whom these investments are being made. Their lived experiences, their goals, their priorities, which they both hold for themselves as individuals, but also their communities, must be centered and respected. Their needs must drive the important decisions and designs that are ultimately being made for their neighborhoods and their homes. I am proud to support and advocate for NYCHA residents along that journey, and I'm really grateful for the community of professionals here in the room today who have accepted that call to action, as I have, and who bravely fight each day, knowing that at the end, when families are safe, when their housing situation has stabilized, when they have gained access to the kinds of opportunities, amenities, and high quality of life that many of us take for granted, and when their voices are elevated and included, it will all have been worth it. Thank you.